Hi class, I am teacher Nova and now we will about to explore, discover, and tackle the different techniques and tools for formative assessment. After we have learned what formative assessment is, its advantages and disadvantages, and what are its differences and similarities with summative assessment, let us now learn some techniques on how to do a formative assessment. These techniques can be very useful to our teaching career as future educators, since this type of assessment help us to measure and evaluate the learning and understanding of our students in the topic and lessons that we had delivered. So now, here are some techniques given by Fisher and Frey 2007 wherein teachers can use while teaching to check on students' understanding. The first one is response card. These response cards are either pre-printed and write-on cards. These pre-printed cards have responses on them such as yes or no. Writing on cards allows students to indicate their responses in real time. So this kind of technique can be classified as traditional technique for formative assessment because this can only be used during face-to-face classes. The second one is hand signals. So example for this are thumbs up means I understand and can explain it. Thumbs ways means I'm not completely sure about it. And thumbs down means I do not understand. So these are the simple responses of our students. And this kind of technique can be used in both face-to-face classes and online classes. Since in virtual classes, we have experienced the different applications such as Zoom and Google Meet that have a raise hand button wherein students can just click that button if they need to respond to their teacher. So for example, when the teacher asks the student to click the raise hand button if they have understood the given topic. So the students will now click that button if they really grasp or understand the given topic. The third one is games. So game-based learning and gamified instruction are two emerging teaching learning practices to drive learning. Game-based learning makes use of a game of any kind to realize a learning outcome. So here are some examples of the games for formative assessment. So first, we have Socrative application or website in which it is a form of classroom wherein it can also be used as an engagement app that provides games and other activities for students. A favorite element is called Space Race, which can turn an assessment into gamified experiences between individuals or groups. So second one is Kahoot application or website in where it allows the teachers to construct homework assignments almost as though they were video game type quests. The app has a feature where teachers can write their own games and make them available to students with an access code. So the third one is Quizlet. So this type of app allows educators to convert their data gathering into gamified form that they can use to inform their teaching practice and can also serve as a reviewer for students to remember and recall all the things that they have tackled. So next, we have here quizzes. This kind of website or application lets the teachers to monitor the result of their students' work as they do it in the classroom. The app lets the student progress at their own pace throughout the game. The next one is Quizalize. So this kind of application or website provides the same kinds of quizzes and assessment as other similar tools. And also, it led the teachers to track the work of individual students at a granular level. So the last one is Plickers. So this kind of app is available in App Store and Google Play, in which it is a formative assessment tool, uses a series of abstract cards that the teachers photographs using a mobile device. The program then analyzes the data and presents the teacher with individualized reports of silent success. These are just some of the applications and sites that can be used to conduct formative assessment and to make learning more fun, engaging, and interesting. However, these techniques and tools are being modified and integrated along with the advancement of technology to keep students acquiring a higher quality of education despite of having a distance learning. Indeed, COVID-19 has pushed many schools and education systems to conduct distant digital teaching and learning. Amidst the new educational system we experiencing right now, it is difficult for the part of a teacher to know if and how the students are learning and making expected progress. We cannot deny the fact that some of the traditional techniques for formative assessment cannot be used and implemented inside a virtual classroom wherein distance learning is inevitable. Now, the question is, as a 21st century teachers, how can we effectively assess that our students' learning during a virtual class? How can we assure that our students are learning and have understood the given topic? And how can we manage to fulfill our goal as assessing and evaluating the students' progress during this new educational system? So now, let me introduce to you the 7 ways of conducting or effectively conducting formative assessment inside a virtual classroom or during an online class. So first one is dipsticks. Like using a dipstick to check the oil in a car, teachers can use short, quick checks virtually to make sure that students are on track both academically and emotionally. So at the start of a live class, a teacher can pose a general question about the previous day's lesson, like, does everyone feel comfortable with what we have learned about last meeting? And have students to respond individually by dropping an emoji or thumbs up and thumbs down in their chat box or video window. And students can also hold up a sticky note or piece of paper to the screen with a response. They don't all have to be serious questions. Funny questions can help get students engaged at the start of a lesson. So the second one is digital journals. So not all students process information at the same speed and at the same time, or like to raise their hand and be acknowledged publicly during class. After class reflection exercise that gives students a private space to reflect and little more deeply and signal both what they understood and what they did not are easy to continue remotely. Teachers can create a journal, jot, an online document for each student using Google Docs or a platform like Blackboard to measure how well students are retaining information. So in their journal, students can respond individually to prompts like KWL, what they know, what they want to know, and what they have learned. Or 3-2-1, 3 things that you have found out, 2 things you found interesting, 1 thing you didn't understand. So through this, teachers can facilitate the individual idea, realizations, and learnings all throughout the lesson. So the third one is, we have here elevator pitches. To help students synthesize important takeaways from a lesson, ask them to take 1 or 2 minutes during live class time to summarize everything they have learned on a particular unit by typing it into a Google Doc, in a chat box, or in a virtual message board like Padlet. You can also, or as a teacher, you can also ask the students, volunteers, to share their elevator pitch or verbal summary of what they have learned with the class in 60 seconds or less. Fifth, we have here square, triangle, circle. Giving students a choice with formative assessment is important, as not all students show their thinking the same way. So square, triangle, and circle is an activity wherein students choose a shape and its associated question prompt. So a square means something that is now squared away or completely put in their minds. Choosing triangle tasks the students with extracting three important ideas from what they have learned, while a circle asks the students to discuss something circulating, ideas that are not yet fully formed in their minds. For asynchronous learning, students can write their responses independently in an online document as a reflection exercise. Or in a synchronous lesson, teachers can make the exercise collaborative by asking students to pick a shape and then dividing them into groups by or based on the shape they chose. So students can briefly discuss their reflections with classmates in breakout rooms and share them back to the class to close out the learning. So the fifth one is make art your assessment. So while teachers may question if old classroom standbys, like popular classroom with wall decorations like collage, mind maps, and sketches can work virtually, teachers we spoke with say that there are still finding ways for a student to use art or music and drama to share their thinking. So students can create an ad to describe and market a particular concept, draw a comic chronicling a historic event, or explaining a scientific principle, write a poem or a song, or act out a chapter from a book or scene from a play. So using a phone, students can record themselves using apps like voice memo or photograph, film their work with the phone's camera to upload and share virtually. Six is peer-to-peer evaluations. So when learning outside the classroom, it's especially important to foster relationship between students. You can do both at the same time, drawing a bead on what your students have learned while encouraging deeper peer connections. So assign each student a virtual buddy for the week or pair of students at a random to get them talking across the class and assessing each other's learning. So in pairs, students can be placed in breakout rooms on Zoom or another video conference platform to do many of the same activities they once did in the classroom to check for understanding. So give each the student a general rubric or use the tag feedback process to evaluate their peers' assignment and have them share the feedback with you as well. So the students will teach each other a concept while recording themselves audio or video and upload the file for you to review. So these activities can also be adapted for asynchronous learning using tools in Google Classroom. For synchronous classes, organize a talk show panel, assign 3 to 4 students roles to represent different ideas or themes of a unit, such as having students in history class impersonate leaders from different countries during World War II, and have each student discuss their perspective in front of their peers, and allow the rest of the class to ask questions to probe their thinking. Lastly, we have here virtual exit tickets. Using exit tickets are students' responses to prompts or questions on a slip of a paper at the end of the class is a popular formative assessment practice that easily transfers online. Teachers can keep a running Google Doc for each student to keep the information private or broaden it to the class or to the whole class by posting questions on a platform like Flipgrid so that the students can see and comment on others' responses. To get a wider view into students' thinking, use open-ended prompts like this. What I found most interesting today was hard because what do you understand well? What's something that's still shaky? What's something I don't realize? Or what takeaways will be important 3 years from now? How does this relate to something learned before? Or how would you have done things differently today? And today was hard because so that's are the some open-ended prompt or questions that you must ask in or include in your exit ticket. And at the end of this lecture, please expect that there will be a virtual exit ticket later, serving as your formative assessment for today's lesson and attendance as well. So the exit ticket includes questions that will measure your understanding and learning for today's class discussion. So these are just some of the teaching techniques on how to implement formative assessment inside an e-classroom, and it is just a quick pulse check to help teachers make sure that their students are learning, making expected progress, and grasping the key concept of the lessons.